114. Still here, no couch.
Still
Okay,
can't.
get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we aren't sure what to talk about, we'll pull a card out of an oracle deck and have divine inspiration. And today it was the spaces between words, which I originally read as the space between worlds. And I read it. That's 2 errors that I read. Dyslexia somehow.
But I wonder if it's the same thing. Are the spaces between words the same thing as spaces?
The space
Between worlds? Because
I could see
on the
that.
podcast suggestion that we had, it was like you as you and I as I, but not as, what was do I say?
I don't know. It was difficult to comprehend what it said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wrote it in a fugue state, I think. So I guess we're gonna talk about what that means. The guidebook said that, it's kind of like look for I guess it's kind of like divine guidance. It's like, you don't always have to be doing, you probably have to do less than you think. And in fact, you probably don't even have to be thinking. Find that the empty spaces in your life that you would otherwise fill up. Now I'm just sort of interpreting. You would otherwise fill up with stuff, whether that's material stuff, whether that's experiences, whether that's, because there's this, idea that everyone's got to be busy all the time. And I've really suffered with that for most of my life,
Why?
I think with me, it was a distraction because if I'm busy, I'm not, left alone with my thoughts, because that's a scary place to be, or always has been a scary place to be, because sometimes it gets a little dark. So, right, this idea.
But the thoughts are always there. You're just trying to pretend like they're not.
Right. Well, if I'm busy doing something, then, I can distract myself from the thoughts. I can't, think about whatever it is I don't want to think about if I'm busy, making something or doing something or, right, working or even playing, there's any sort of activity is a great distraction from yourself.
What's her name? Guruji got, and I've said this before in the podcast, but she said it in a very interesting way, that like in the Western world, the busyness has become a status symbol.
Yeah, no, it really has. I mean, because I've worked in 3 Fortune 500 companies in my life. And yeah, if you like, looking busy was super important. More
but
so
even outside of work, just like having agendas and things to do, and
yeah, sure,
like kids' activities, signing up for sports, and doing the picnics and doing the PTSAs and
yeah, and it's like, it's weird if you're like, oh no, I'm not doing anything today. I'm deliberately going to relax. Like, okay, well, on vacations maybe you can relax, maybe not.
Most people can relax on vacation.
But what I was saying is, appearing busy was arguably more important and better for your career longevity than actually being productive, which, right, is like the opposite of, if it should be anyway, it's the opposite of that, right? Just, there's this, I've read some stuff about how there's this push to return to the office, RTO, return to office, because, after COVID's over and whatever, now all these companies have these remote workers that, for whatever reason, they want them to return to the office, whether that's because they don't trust them or they need to justify their millions of dollars of commercial real estate, or they need to justify, middle management to look, I don't know. But, yeah, I'm sure it's not universal, but a lot of people are like, I am just so much less productive in the office. And I feel this this like revolt against being pushed back into the office. And that makes me even less productive on top of that. In the office, it's like, yeah, I'm going to go, talk to people. I'm going to go, stand by the coffee maker and do this and do that. And, but at home, when I'm working, I'm working. And when I'm not, I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably management, micromanagement.
Right. Because if you, there was a term. I don't know if I'm going to remember it. It was like, this idea of busyness by proximity. So if you're in the office, then you must be busy because you're in the office. But if you're at home, who knows what you're doing? And it's like, I don't know, if you really can't trust your employees that much, then maybe you have the wrong employees, or maybe you're the wrong employer.
Yeah, but realistically speaking, I think if you have a job that you're assigned for this employee to do, and the job is being done, then what do you care where they do it?
Right. Where they do it, or, how they do it, or how long it takes them to do it. It's like, you have to complete tasks X, Y, Z. Okay, they get it done or they don't.
Well, I mean, how long? There's a factor there.
Well, I mean, how long in a short way? Like if they're really good at it and get it done quickly.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that if like even a long way, you should assign right. If you and I
this is due next Tuesday. This is due whenever,
and you just have
right. And there's you would have there's, I think we're off topic, but
yeah, no, with me the busyness was there to mitigate unsafety. Right.
In what way?
Like if I spend time taking care of everything, then everything was in order, and everything is in order, then everything is safe. Right. It's like the pretense idea of control.
Yeah. It's like looking at it now, it's like super obvious that is illusion of control at its utmost.
Yeah, but because I felt unsafe, right? Deep down, like I guess what you're talking about, like that voice, right? That you don't want to listen to, right? That is chaotic and whatever. And its truth, it just wants to be heard.
Right.
And its truth, it just is unsafe, right?
Yeah. Another reason that I was busy was that so that people would see me being busy, and then they would, whatever, think better of me, think I'm a better employee. Maybe that would put me in better line for a promotion or whatever. But that was definitely part of it too. You could wrap all that up in so that I'm liked more.
Liked more?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think in general, I think there's this huge fear associated with not doing. Like when there was a time, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, back when I started going to acupuncture. I remember, and there was like that first initial push to not do for me because I was so busy doing things, obviously out of unsafety, right? But when I was guided to like not do, I remember going to the acupuncturist and having the conversations of like, it's just really difficult not to do. And she's like, yeah, so just like surrender into the present. I'm like, yeah, but that's so difficult. It was just so difficult to like go, wait, what? And it was to me, it was an existential crisis, I think, because I realized like, oh no, the doing just calms the nerves in a very fake way instead of actually addressing, wait, why am I busy? Why do I need to be busy?
It just delays it.
Well, no, it numbs off the actual feeling. This doesn't delay it. It just numbs it off, right?
Okay, yeah.
I actively feel unsafe all the time, baseline, right?
I mean, it delays having to feel it. I guess numbing it off is the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, eventually.
If I'm busy now, then, at 8 hours, I got an 8-hour shift, 8 hours later, maybe then I feel it. But for these 8 hours, I don't. So I can kick that feeling it bucket down the road 8 more hours by going to work, going to school, working on the project, going to sleep, taking a drink, doing whatever.
I don't think the goal was ever to feel anything. I think the goal was I just needed to stay busy.
Yeah, right.
It's not even a delay. It's just like pretend like it's not there. Do you know what I mean? There was never an intent to feel it later.
No, I'm not saying the intent is to feel it later. The intent is how much can I cram in now and in the future to not feel it? Because the time of not doing to me would be the time of feeling. So I will do as much doing as I can to minimize the feeling.
Yeah, but I don't think it was all subconscious.
No, it was all subconscious. Like now it's blindingly obvious, but yes, it is. It was not like, ooh, I feel bad and I have thoughts I don't want to have. So I'm going to, bury myself in work in order to, no, it wasn't that, explicit and deliberate, but looking back, that is exactly what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. With me, it was just like, oh, unsafe. And if I'm taking care of things, if I'm actively working towards something, then surely that something will keep me safe. It was very more transparent, I guess. Right. Like, oh, well, not working and not working hard, even if there's nothing to do for work, just trying to find something to do for work was soothing enough, because then otherwise this is me doing something for work. Therefore, it is somehow going to keep me safe. Right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't know if cooking ever really came into that.
No, but I mean, it's easy to invent busy work, and sometimes that's a procrastination. Like, oh well, I'm going to go through all my emails and delete them, right? And that feels productive, but it's really not. It's maybe the slightest bit productive, but it certainly feels. Email. I mean, that is the definition of productivity: is your inbox, right? Where, yeah.
Yeah. No. So I think once you recognize that the business is trying to address something that is not actually the action itself, to some extent, it's interesting. Then, in retrospect, I can look back and go, all the action that I did because I needed to do something in order to be safe, or in order to stay productive, or in order to, in case, be seen as such, you recognize how fake your life is with all of those actions. There's no authenticity to anything. Right. And you become like, at that point, I would have never thought of myself as fake or participating in fake, like scenarios. But now looking back, I'm like, yeah, all of that was just fake.
Yeah.
There's no me.
It feels like this weird empty shell of a life where it's all just performance in a sense, and distraction in a sense, and covering up your feelings and burying them in a sense, and it strikes me as so bizarre that busyness is this status symbol these days, when, like, I think there's this idea that busyness has a strong correlation to like income or money, but
or importance.
Status, oh yeah, social, if you're busy, then you're more
social
important.
Status is more so than money.
Sure. Yeah, maybe it is that.
Yeah. Like somehow
and I'm like, gosh, we have it so backwards.
Like, yeah, society has it backwards.
Like, being at a point in my life where, I value free time more than like almost anything else. It's like, wow, just the idea of being busy for the sake of
numbness, avoidance of actual feeling,
right? And pretending it's so that I look more important, or I'm going to get a raise, or people like, oh my gosh, it's very stressful.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you cannot go, right, like to begin with, like 2 or 3 years being directed to like not do, right, was like, I was so frantic and distraught about it, to where I'm like, what does that even mean, not do? But it was a very, very long lesson to show to myself why I do, right? And when you stop doing, I think it shines the light on what is that, basically the monster that you keep burying comes up. Like, oh, look what the doing is doing. It's soothing all of these little things that would otherwise, if you sat there and you go, okay, well, now you have all this time to just go, okay, well, I can't do. So what is that, right? Like if you're giving a directive, do not do, right? Which in a way I was, right? Like every single, like I kept on like pulling cards and
would just say
doing
no,
messages and
or
everything
stop.
was like, do not do. This is not the time to do. And so like I just stopped doing everything. And it was so I guess I was so distraught and so stressful. But it made me realize like, oh, I need to do in order to feel safe. Because otherwise it is unsafe to sit there and not do.
No, I mean that's where it goes to me is unsafety. It just takes a different path.
Yeah. But no, ultimately, going back to our theme, everything is unsafe.
Yeah.
But the doing hides it. The doing hides it. And so forcing yourself into the not doing basically has all of these things come up. This is the same reason that when people start meditating, they revolt and run backwards from it.
Yeah.
Because your mind brings up everything that you hide. Like everything that has been asking for attention and kind of like in the soft whisper, all of a sudden goes, oh, look, you're giving space for calmness. Let me go ahead and bring up this thing that I've been trying to bring up for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
And people revolt against that and just run.
Yeah, right.
Because for the first time, they hear their inner self and feel their truth. And it's terrifying because you've been denying it for 40 years.
When people get sick, or at least when I get sick, used to. I haven't been sick in a good while now. But I don't even know if that's wood.
We don't have anything.
There you go. Touch wood is what the British people say, and Americans say knock on wood.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I wonder why.
I don't know. Well, I'm literally holding on to wood right now. When you're stuck in bed with a cold or with a flu, on one hand, doing anything sounds terrible because you just, you're just laying there. Feels like you're trying not to die, depending on how bad it is. But at the same time, I would have this like unease about like, God, there's so much stuff to do. There's so much stuff that I need to get done.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so it's this weird, like, I feel guilty about not doing stuff combined with, I don't think I can physically do stuff. And so, you're stuck
because it feels threatening.
Yeah, sure. It felt threatening to not do stuff, whether that's, I think it's really irrelevant how critical the thing is, right? I mean, I guess there are, okay, you have to go pick up your kid from school, or you have to mail the utilities bill or whatever. Have to. Because the consequences if you don't are severe enough that you would get out of bed with the flu and deal with it. But, writing the email or whatever, it makes it clear what is actually super important to have that needs to get done because of consequences. And that line, it moves that line way up. I think the same thing happens when people have like near-death experiences. They're like, oh, I don't actually want to be a doctor, lawyer, or accountant or whatever that makes a lot of money. I want to be a musician.
It's because of safety. You chose
right. I chose this career, which, on paper is, a very safe choice, right? Doctors, lawyers, accountants, whatever, make safe, reliable money. They're probably going to be employed their whole life. They, if the hospital goes out of business or something, there's another hospital that'll hire them. It's not, as opposed to an artist, the whole starving artist is a trope because I imagine a lot of artists don't make doctor level money. And so while that may be something they love, it isn't a safe, big air quotes around safe career choice societally, because how are you going to sell your paintings? How are you going to make money? Side note, in the modern world, there are all kinds of interesting ways you can make money as an artist that are not selling your paintings. But, just on, with the internet and Etsy and
the
internets, the interwebs.
I think you pretty kind of dated yourself there.
With the World Wide Web.
There
we
.com.
.com. With all the .coms out there. Boy. But that's, you hear it all the time. People who have, near-death experiences or, who are like legally dead for like 3 minutes and then come back and they're like, it just changes their life. Largely, they no longer have a fear of dying because they've like seen the other side to some degree. And they're like, okay, yeah, I'll miss people and they'll miss me, but the other side is not something scary. And B, it completely transforms their life. And they're like, they quit the high-paying, high-stress job that they never wanted in the first place. They just did it, A, to feel safe, or B, because to make mommy or daddy proud, or, I come from 8 generations of doctors, so I've got to be a doctor, whatever it is. Some sort of external reason why they took this career. They completely changed their life. They often, downsize on stuff, on the size of their home, on their car. They may downsize on family and friends. Like, okay, turns out all these people that I thought were my friends, yeah, that's not what I want to be anymore. They reduce the doing. At least the doing that they now recognize doesn't serve them and probably came from an external source.
Out of fear of the unknown.
Fear, right. Yeah.
Or fear of mitigation. Just unsafety, right? But yeah, like I said, as a flavor of unsafety, fear if I don't do, then, my family is not well off, or I don't have a prestige factor assigned to me.
Yeah.
Or it's unsafe not to plant potatoes and harvest potatoes. Right. Or like not having friends means I'm a bad person.
This will be Tanya's law, is that every conversation has to devolve into some sort of potato thing, like Godwin's law. Tanya's law.
Potatoes are important. I mean, we have potatoes. Like I cooked potatoes yesterday, and we have them in the fridge today.
I'm excited.
And this morning, I woke up excited about.
I'm also excited. Those are good potatoes.
No, but right, like in that sense, think about like in Ukraine, if you didn't plant the potatoes and the onions come, May time, you wouldn't have anything to harvest come September, right? And so the survival is questionable for us, right? Like other people who did not depend on potatoes and had money to buy groceries at the market and things like that would have been in different positions, but we weren't.
Right.
We were dependent on potatoes.
Yeah, but their position would have been like, well, I've got to go to work or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, except in Ukraine, sometimes it's not the money to buy things, it's the availability of things to buy.
Yeah.
And that changes things a lot.
Yeah, that's
right.
Other than like, I guess, toilet paper during COVID, but we had a stockpile of toilet paper due to my own issues. We haven't really experienced that too much.
Yeah.
COVID was, I think, the first time the, Western world experienced that. And that was probably really scary.
Lack of resources. But even stupid resources too. Do you know what I mean? Like
those Clorox wipes?
The wipes or the gloves or the
masks.
The masks. It's like we've survived a long time without them. So the fact that was necessary for survival was within itself a social construct. Do you know what I mean? Then brought in more fear because all of a sudden.
I remember we went to Costco, and this was like right at the beginning of when COVID was like starting to hit the news, but there were no cases. Like the first United States case was some like cruise ship off of wherever, right? And so like there wasn't any, at least in the mainland, or certainly not in Kentucky.
Well, no, we had COVID like December before.
Yes, we did.
But the mass distribution of the message didn't come out until May.
Consensus COVID.
March.
Yeah. So this would have been like March or something, where
early March.
People are talking about it and starting to get anxious about it. And we went to Costco, not for COVID supplies, but just to go to Costco. And they had a deal on those Clorox wipes, but we didn't get them. And then like, was it my idea?
I didn't.
I think it was I'm like, oh, we don't need more Clorox wipes. And then afterward, like, you're like, we should have got those Clorox wipes. I'm like, oh my God, we should have got those Clorox wipes. Like a couple of days later, because the cases started rising, we're like, oh my God, we have to disinfect the world. Oh, we need to wipe everything down. And so there was this.
Did you feel a personal shot?
Like, I did. Yes, because I made a bad choice, and we didn't get Clorox wipes, and now we're all probably going to die because of it. And I have basically killed us.
Yeah, right. But this is the COVID, I guess, kind of made things interesting because the societal reaction to COVID, at least here in Kentucky, like when we drove to the west that summer, they seem to have. I'm not sure about California, but when we drove to like New Mexico and Utah and
Colorado,
Arizona,
yeah,
they were all very nonchalant about it there.
Those are all states that are, I don't want to say they're big states, but they're spacious, right?
Kentucky's a big state.
Kentucky's, I mean, I'm not talking about square miles area, but
You're
like
talking about like mindset?
Maybe like, I mean, we live outside of Louisville and we live in a neighborhood. So like, I can't literally reach out and touch anybody. I have to walk,
2 minutes.
2 minutes to interact with somebody. Now, if you're in Manhattan, you can't not reach out and touch somebody.
Yeah.
And obviously, Denver is a bigger city than Louisville by many times.
But I think the reaction to COVID was coincided with conscious mindset of like reality. Do you know what I mean? So Utah's reaction to it and Colorado's reaction to it and New Mexico reaction to it when we were there seemed to be a lot more like nonchalant and mild because like I think people are more aware of triggers.
Maybe it's that. I attributed it to there because we weren't staying in cities. We were staying in, for the most part, rural-ish areas. And so there's fewer people across more areas. So there's less population density. And the places we went were outsidey type of places where that's the only place that you were ostensibly, other than your own home, sealed off, was outside. And so, national parks or whatever, it's like, you may, there's someone way over there. Okay, we'll just stay away from them and everything will be fine. So there's this wide openness about that whole area that I'm not saying it is. I'm saying that's how it felt to me.
Oh, really? I thought it was more of a conscious, like
it might be
expression of consciousness, right? Like Denver seems to be a little bit more aware. Like if I had to generalize the population of awareness, Denver's more aware.
Yeah. That whole Four Corners area and everything around it.
Mm-hmm. Like I think there's a higher vibratory phase of awareness in that whole area.
Right.
Versus Kentucky struggles a lot.
Kentucky has interesting problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're kind of we're having its own lesson. Like for some reason, like Kentucky's, like Indiana gets affected because of us, and Illinois gets affected because of us. Like Tennessee, I actually think the states around us get affected.
The Virginias
get affected. The Virginias are now bleeding into us. We're affecting it as a Kentucky. And so, like, if you're in proximity to Kentucky and how much Kentucky juju are you getting would be equivalent to how far in the proximity radius you are away from Kentucky.
Yeah.
Weird. It's interesting, right? Because this is not talking about doing, but this is just kind of like a side story. When we were moving and into United States for the first time in the 90s, we had an opportunity to come to Pennsylvania.
Right, Pittsburgh or Philadelphia?
It was Pittsburgh, I think. And we've been to Pittsburgh since, and Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania State, and Pennsylvania. Philadelphia, yeah. Well, a lot of P's. I'm getting all the P's confused, right? And like the energy there is not Kentucky energy.
No, but like Pittsburgh and Philadelphia are wildly different.
They're wildly different, but like Pittsburgh has a very Portland feel to me. I
liked Pittsburgh. I did not like Philadelphia.
Yeah, but it also depends on like where we are on the traveling trip and what area we're staying in. I think we stayed in the weird area of Philadelphia. Right. But in Pittsburgh, the rivers come together, right?
They merge.
And they merge into what begins as an Ohio River.
Yeah.
And then Kentucky has that combination flowing right, like the entire northern border of Kentucky is the Ohio River flow.
Right. And it's like 2 miles to our north.
Yeah. So we live right next to that river. And so the progression of energy that is affected both by the flowing river at the north, the Appalachian Mountains on the east,
Mhm.
and I think we have some sort of a dammed up area in the west, which is a total block. That whole
Lake Cumberland?
the Lake Cumberland and that whole area is just
Land
like
between the lakes?
yeah, like
Uh-huh.
just a big block,
Uh-huh.
right? And so the cumulative effect of all of that has Kentucky to be kind of like at its own little spiraling out effect.
Right. We've got Fort Knox, like an hour away from here, which may or may not have gold, but definitely has army. And
we have huge limestone.
We have
deposits.
Massive amounts of limestone.
Therefore, radon gas.
Yes, lots of radon gas.
So a lot of cancer because of that.
Yeah,
which is like
a lot of coal mining that at least was, maybe still is in the Appalachians. There's a uranium. Is it a mine or is it an enrichment plant out in
Richmond, towards Richmond, or not?
Somewhere to the southeast, I think. I don't know exactly where.
I don't know. Yeah,
a lot of. I'm sure other states have some of these things too, but whatever it is.
but it's interesting. Whatever happened and Edgar Casey comes out of that area, Cumberland area. Hopkinsville is right there. There's a lot of stuck energy there, and I have no idea what the heck. I'm not familiar with the history of Kentucky. What the heck happened there? But something happened there, and there's just like a big setting, non-moving energetic spot.
There's a place not too far from here called Harmony Landing, and I think that is. I don't know if that's where the first white people settlers like landed off the banks of the Ohio River and met with the natives.
Oh, really?
That is how it was. That is my interpretation of how it was portrayed. And the flag of Kentucky has a white person and a Native American shaking hands in cooperation, ostensibly.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's not shaking hands and passing smallpox.
Yeah.
But
no, and with me, I'm connected to the Native American lady who in a different space is here or was here. I don't know. It's kind of strange because there's no space and time. I'm saying is, but if you count space and time, then I would say was. But it's kind of weird to say was when it's still an is, so it's kind of strange. But, there's a Native American settlement right through here that we're living on. And then, I think I've mentioned this before, she talks about the orchard, the apple orchard. And I didn't even know Kentucky had apple. I mean, she managed the apple orchard here, which I'm like, I thought Native Americans more like traveled more. But I think as like a settlement, this was the settlement for the apples and whatever apples did to them.
I learned yesterday from Annabelle's homework that they believe that women were the first to plant seeds, and so they were the
in the African continent or just period.
I don't know whatever I mean, there were humans, but tens of thousands of years ago, the origins of agriculture start with women.
Well, the origins of everything starts with women. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of obvious if you think about it. It's like, oh, we have to go around and pluck all these berries and fruits and everything. They're all over the place. It's like, why don't we just bring them closer? Just put them here so we don't have to go everywhere. It's like, it's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you make the connection that, oh, this seed in the ground makes a plant, then it's, as long as you can make that connection, then, well, yeah, I don't want to go hunting and I don't want to go gathering across, all these miles trying to find. So if I can bring it here, start it here.
There was a thing that we watched that said that they believe that the Amazon forest was planted, seeded.
Yes.
Because there's not a diversity of species that it should be, and they're all like flowering and edible fruits.
Yeah, they're all like, all
useful for humanity.
Almost all of the, at least the, is it the entire Amazon, or is it like the like hundreds of miles of the border of the Amazon are all trees and plants that are beneficial to humans? And it's like, that's just such an unbelievable coincidence that it can't be. It has to be that it was originally cultivated to some degree and then ran wild and just grew.
Yeah. But cultivated with an intent of having species of plants that are helpful for humanity.
It's like, I don't want to go plant a whole bunch of poison ivy, but I could see planting apple trees.
I'm sure there's a benefit to poison ivy.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I'm not going to go actively plant myself a forest of poison ivy right next to me.
Yeah. We digress from the doing and the spaces in between.
We did.
Yeah, I think we were talking about. So this goes back to how we started talking about harvesting and cultivation was like in Ukraine, planting potatoes was essential for survival, right? Like at least in our case, based on our income and number of family members and the pattern of familiar like functioning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our diet was one depended on potatoes and onions, but then also like it was an easy store solution based on the fact that we had a cellar and then, placed for canning and things like that, right? But, and I said this before, the doing, right, had, here's what it comes down to. If you are doing, and if you take a pause from doing, then you can gauge out of what feelings or actions of self does my doing come out of, right?
Right.
And if you have done even rudimentary meditation or awareness work, you can see, oh, I seem to be wanting to do in order not to have something happen or in order to control a scenario or in order not to be in lack of food.
I'm afraid if I don't, then whatever.
Then X, right? Like, oh, I'm not loved or I don't have food for the winter or, I go bankrupt and they take away my house or, my kids are sick and poor or, whatever. Or we don't have the family status symbol and everybody thinks we're losers. Whatever the nonsense is, all of it is nonsense. But if you're doing out of that nonsense, you're automatically in blindness of the lack that you're bringing into that doing.
Yes.
And I was very much, and probably still am, at fault of not seeing how much lack I bring into the doing, even though the doing within itself would still be necessary, for example, if you were planting potatoes.
Right. No, I mean, that's the thing is that, it's really easy to do the right thing for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me look up the name fast.
Right. And so the outcome, this is what I want to say is when we're talking about doing, part of it is not doing, but once you recognize how much of you're doing as a compensation for avoidance or status or lack or unsafety, then you can really pause and go, wait, how much of that doing do I want to do if I just simply recognize the belief structure that causes the doing? Right?
Yeah. There's this thing that I'm going to post in the show notes, but there's this Russian quantum physicist, Vadim, probably not Zealand. How would you pronounce it? Vadim Zeland.
But that looks like it's an altered name. That doesn't even look like it's a, I don't know.
But yeah, so he discovered his own version of basically manifestation. But what he found was that you can he words it as there's infinite universes, and you get to kind of choose your own adventure, jumping between them into what you want and what you don't want, depending on the energy and mindset you bring to it. And the worst thing that you can do, which is what everybody does, is be really, really obsessive, and you need something, you got to have it, and you're
out of lack.
out of lack.
You don't recognize it.
You don't recognize it as that, but you're like, oh my gosh, we got to have the potatoes. And, logically, sure, that makes sense. You got to have the potatoes or sure, you will starve to death. That may be true. But when you bring that energy of lack, of desperation to it, you end up choosing the path that brings you more desperation and kind of fulfills that, as opposed to bringing a divine nonchalance to it, which releases that, and you actually get to choose. You get to go on the path that is probably more desirable. And there's all kinds of caveats because it's really easy to go to fake not caring. It's like, oh, whatever. If we don't have potatoes, okay, well then we'll have an adventure this winter, won't we? But deep down, you really want those potatoes.
Yeah, I think the deep down is like when I was reading that post, I was thinking it is difficult. It would be difficult to narrow yourself down to that core and go, is there a tension in even the idea that I'm supposed to let this go?
Yeah.
And if you're going, oh no, look, you don't just release the care about it. Say it doesn't matter if it does or does not happen, but I would like for this. But universe, make that happen if it's in my best interest. Just even saying that you release that from happening and you're not attached to that happening, if that brings in like an influx going, wow, this seems dangerous deep down, right? Like this is your cognitive mind might think so because you're like, oh, this sounds like a good idea to say. But if there's tension deep down, like that unsafety's trigger, you're like, oh, I have a really hard time saying this. Then chances are you're still locking in that unsafety energy that is still inserting the chalance as opposed to the nonchalance.
Right. I mean, it's easier to do with trivial things. It's like, I sure hope they have my soy milk at Starbucks or whatever. It's like, and if they don't, okay, that is not the end of the world for me, at least. But it would be harder for, I hope we get the potatoes in the ground and the weather cooperates and we don't die. Yeah. That is a harder one to let go of. But it is an interesting exercise to do just for like everything.
Well, for recognition of what is actually holding you hostage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the truth is the busyness is there to offset this feeling. And that feeling in truth is holding you hostage to a very limited reality that only propagates that tension that you're holding.
Yeah.
Like, this is ridiculous, but we see the world as backwards. We manifest our world based on the vibratory tension that we're refusing to admit that we have. So when we stay busy because we don't want to face whatever will come up, that thing is actually what's driving our reality.
Right. We're getting everything we don't want because
we're refusing to even acknowledge what is it that we're vibrating that we don't even want to hear.
Right.
Like when you go, oh, I don't want to hear that. That makes me feel uncomfortable. Like that's nonsense because it makes you feel uncomfortable. That's the driving factor behind your outcomes of the world.
Right. And recognizing and acknowledging that is the first step.
Yeah.
You can't do anything until you do that. And, maybe you can work on letting it go, maybe not, but at least you're not living blindly. At least you're honest with yourself. You go, oh, I really do care about those potatoes. I really do care about that soy milk. That really, really matters to me in an existential type of way, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you can start to explore, well, why is that? What happens if you don't have potatoes? Not what physically happens, maybe what physically happens, but more like, what does it mean to me? What are my fears around this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, right. But it's funny that we, this is kind of just reinforces all our previous podcasts, but like this not addressing and not pausing the rat race of moving forward is kind of the stream of the flow out of trapped energy. You trapped energy. This is your manifestation reality, and you're swimming, pretending like there's not a poopy cistern there, right? But then when you realize, oh wait, my manifestation is out of this poopy cistern, then you can go, okay, do not want that. Do you know what I mean? Like, one, wow, right? Like, to me was like, oh wow. Just when you realize that what you vibrate deep down subconsciously is actually what the universe delivers. And then it really sucks, because then you're like, shit, I'm responsible for everything that's crappy in my life. I can't blame anybody else. Like, that sucks.
Yeah, right. That's
and
a
the second,
shocker.
Right? And so, like, you and I just had the conversation where, like, your world is literally your little universe, your reality, and there's no one else in it.
Right.
You manifesting everything, and you come in and you interact with mine, and Lyra comes in and interacts with mine here and there, but it's her universe and it's my universe, and we just touch on each other electrically here and there, but my universe is very much a bubble of me.
Yeah.
And so to hold anyone else responsible for your nonsense, that becomes kind of like a nullified concept. Like, that doesn't work.
Right.
To like realize, wait, there's no one to blame. The blamer is me. And if there's something that I don't like, that's on me.
Right.
And then it kind of puts you into that shock of like, wow.
I mean, it's overwhelming, but at the same time, it becomes empowering, because it's like,
no, it's extremely empowering.
Oh,
but to begin with, it is scary.
Yeah.
Right. To know that you are the responsible party. Right. But when you pause, and you, in that pause, right, in that space, you can go, okay, there's something within me that calls attention, right? And if it calls attention, then it's bothering me. Deep down, something is bothering me, right? Not having potatoes for the winter may not be the case in the United States of America, because every Kroger and Publix, has mountains and mountains of potatoes, unless they don't.
There was one time they didn't have the potatoes that we want. They didn't have those. And I'm like, oh no.
Right. But if that is still a bothering influx that I can feel within me, right, then I can choose to address, okay, what out of what unsafety am I actually vibrating? Right. And then have the power, right, to then recognize that the manifestation of my world is out of that unsafety.
Right. And that doesn't mean that, you will or won't have potatoes. However the universe ends up manifesting for you is kind of beside the point. This is the real exercise here is, how does it make you feel? Why does it make you feel that way? Maybe what is it not even what is it you're afraid of? It's what is triggering the childhood version of you is a better way to word it than what are you afraid of? Is it because, I'm afraid of starving to death. Okay, yeah, but that feels like the surface level thing. It's more like, what is childhood you? How was childhood you afraid?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like the task here is not complicated at all, and it like everything that we read, and then everything that you and I talk about, and then everything that we see as a manifestation of this uncovering, it is quite literally showcasing itself to be true in every way possible, right? But any one step to commitment seems to be very difficult. Do you know what I mean? That's what it comes down to. Like, nothing is complicated, nothing is difficult, but the commitment to seeing what you have been trying not to see for so long,
right,
is the difficulty. Like, every single time I have a dream and I'm talking to some higher frequency being, and we're talking about humanity continue to exist, at the end I always go, whatever the discussion is at the end is like, yeah, but the people have to want to see themselves, right? And in any like reserve I have of this working out comes down to, how many people will actually want to go through this?
Right. I mean, it's scary and it's painful, but I just liken it to like ripping off a Band-Aid. It's like, yeah, ripping off a Band-Aid hurts, but like slowly pulling that Band-Aid off, and this is a really long Band-Aid that you'll never take it off, right? And you're just like, you can be in moderate discomfort for your entire life, or you can be in a lot of discomfort for what really is a short period of time. Because I found that for the most part, once I've found and identified and explored the things that are scary and painful and frightening to me, they largely lose their power. It doesn't mean they're gone. It doesn't mean I'm not triggered, but I'm not triggered to the same extent in the same way as I was. It's no longer an existential thing. It's oh, look, that's poking me, but I see that it's poking me, and okay. Instead of, oh my God, I'm just going to lose it if I don't get my soy milk at Starbucks. So it feels like it's the rational choice in that sense too, because it really does lead to a more peaceful life.
Yeah. No, it's rational, and it's like, once you start to explore it enough, is the only choice, because quite literally you see the fakeness and the falseness of everything that is not you otherwise. Like, it's quite literally you choosing yourself versus you choosing a pretend version of someone who's not you.
It very quickly becomes one of those I forget which is the red pill or the blue pill that Neo took in the Matrix, but it's like, once you take it, there's no going back. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't unsee
the nonsense.
You can't unsee everything through this lens. And it just alters your view of reality in a way that for better or for worse, I think it's for better, but can't be undone. So it's like, it becomes impossible to do it. It's like when you have some sort of epiphany, it changes you, and you can't not have had that afterward.
Yeah. Right. Well, because you see your actions are counterintuitive towards you.
Right. And
you see your own actions as counterintuitive towards you.
They feel like maybe the right thing to do or the safe thing to do, but it becomes apparent that they're not always. Or at the very least, the reason you're doing them starts to become clear. And you may still do it. You may still deliberately go, yes, I'm going to do this thing, which maybe I shouldn't, but at least I know why I'm doing it. But, at least you're more honest when you do that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the more we participate in this process, like the amount of me that exists versus in retrospect, like how much me existed prior to this is like, was there even me? Like, there was a hint of me. There was like this little like glimmer of me, like, and that's strange to say, right? To where like, wait, where were you for 40 years prior to you doing this, right? Like, if at 40 years in, you're finding out that there was no you and there was this like glimmer essence of you, but all the bullshit was just piled up on top, then where were you? And it's strange to say, probably nowhere. Like, quite literally, maybe numbed off, buried, and non-existent, right? There was like, glimmers came out here and there, actions came out of here and there, out of that's just the essence of the heart and a sense of honesty. But everything else was just a dump on top to cover it all up, right? And even the happy moments, like the joyful moments, the loving moments, were still hindered because they were still ran through this filter of nonsense and unsafety and, oh, what ifs? Do you know what I mean? So even the joy in the moments prior to this awareness was not at its full potential. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's difficult to realize that too, right? Because like that's a portion of you have to formalize as like, wow, you have to see yourself in an unpleasant light to realize the true you that the true you that actually exists in its full light.
Right. That was hard for me. It was really hard for me as someone who always, was trying to be good and be, whatever that meant, to really see myself in an icky way. It was a lot.
Yeah. Well,
Right,
I mean,
'cause
it's not just seeing yourself. One, you're responsible.
Yeah.
But two, who you thought you were, you're not.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a little identity crisis type of thing.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a definitely an interesting journey. But like, at the other end of it, the more of yourself actually opens up, right? The more of your being opens up and you come on board, right? Like, and you kind of like upgrade your reality. Like the doing becomes non-existence or the non-important.
Right.
And the doing then stems out of not any other portion. I'm not saying we're there 100% of the time because, obviously I still do in the 3-dimensional space. But if I'm just doing in that expression of this is who I am,
Mm-hmm.
that is a completely different energy of doing.
It's that's where the magic happens, is doing from that place of I'm doing it because this is me. It's an expression of me, or it's an expression of love, or it's, this is my passion. And that doesn't mean it has to be painting. Your passion may be accounting or lawyering or doctoring. That's what it is irrelevant. Whether or not it is a socially acceptable, high level, high paying job is irrelevant. It doesn't have to be a job at all. It may be going for walks in the woods. But it takes on this different, like, I don't want to use the word meaning, like,
well, the
essence. There's
the action that you are performing becomes in the non-existent concept. And the only thing that is existing is you at your essence and truth, facilitating you out.
Yeah.
There's no doing, there's no action, there's no participation. Like the action itself is this irrelevant, nebulous concept that does not, even if it still looks the same as it did 20 years ago, that is completely non-existent. It quite literally is non-existent because in the space of awareness, where you are open to exploration of you and the truth of you, you behaving in your exploration and your truth, and then therefore facilitating the version of you forward becomes the only action.
Right. It's like it's a completely different way to live. It's wild when I manage to do things from that space, which still not all the time, but it is more and more than it has been. It's things flow, things, usually work out better. I know for a fact that when I do it out of the opposite of that, things just go horribly wrong. I probably told this story before, but I had to change a fan in a house one time. I'm looking at a fan right now. And I was just in a crappy mood and I went over and it was just everything that could go wrong did go wrong getting that fan installed. It took 3 times longer than it should have taken. It was just bleeding, bonked my head. It was so bad. I mean, I can't even, and I was angry and frustrated the whole time doing it. And every time I ran into some sort of little, can't get the screw in, it just made me angrier and more frustrated. And at one point I had to literally stop and just sit down on the floor and just take a break and meditate for like 5 or 10 minutes. Because I realized the reason this isn't working is not because there's something wrong with the fan. It's because it's me. I'm the reason that this isn't working. And after that, it came together. But I spent so much time before, because I'm like, I'm just going to power through and get this stupid fan on. No.
Yeah, but that just showcases like the universe is a manifested inner frequency of your truth.
Yeah.
And if your truth isn't distressed and angry and frustrated and resentful,
It was 100% that.
then in this case, the outflow of installing a fan is going to be an angry, frustrating, and resentful type of event.
Gosh,
You know what I mean?
I remember that so vividly. It was so overly dramatically awful of an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, that is how the universe works.
Mhm.
Right. And so like that unwillingness to take a pause and to be in a space where you're allowing your truth to come up, even though to begin with, they might be uncomfortable, only leads to the manifestation of that truth. Right. Like universe quite literally does not work in any other way. Right. Like that post said like, oh, the quantum physicist, this Russian quantum physicist quit his job after he learned this. I don't actually know if that's true or any details about it, right? But after you learn this, you go,
what am I doing?
What am I doing?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? What am I doing? Right?
Yeah.
Where's me? Right? And if the me is afraid and chasing something because it feels unsafe deep down inside, that will always be me. Or if me is willing to see myself, how I fear myself to be, right? Like the truth is the reason why we don't want to look at ourselves is because we're afraid of what we're going to find, right? All the terrible things you think about yourself, that's what you're trying to avoid when you're trying to keep yourself busy.
Yeah, right.
But if you're willing to actually acknowledge yourself and admit, oh, like, oh my gosh, I'm a piece of shit about this, or, I'm an idiot about that. Do you know what I mean? One, I mean, good that you started, two, but two is just realize that it makes you feel uncomfortable. Like these actions that you deem as bad and you're continuing to participate in makes you feel uncomfortable. The question is then, why are you choosing to participate in those actions?
Right.
And the chances are you choosing to participate in those actions is because either you're numbing off and then this makes me feel better, right? Or you're unsafe and you think that this action provides you safety, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, there's not. It's frustrating because it's so easy, yet I see within myself how difficult it is to stick through it.
Right.
Especially in the beginning.
Yeah, no, I still find myself getting caught up in it. And you're there to go, hey, look what you're doing right now as well to me, which helps. It's like, oh yeah, look at that. Whatever this is really seems to matter for some reason, like way beyond however much it really should matter, which for most things is like not at all. Yeah. It's like, wow, this feels really important. Why is that? Why is this so important to me?
Yeah. That's a funny paradox that everything is only important because you are chasing the feeling of not feeling unsafe.
Right.
Or, right? You're trying not to feel unsafe.
Right.
That's the only reason everything is so important. But when you start to like go back and recognize that and recognize then.
And be okay feeling unsafe.
Yeah. Well, most definitely.
That's the truth. There you go. That's the truth. You feel unsafe. Everybody feels unsafe. So, we can skip the whole pretending that we don't and just admit that we do and accept that we do, genuinely accept that we do. And, accept that most of these things out there in the world are scary and make us feel unsafe, Well,
and then you one instance identify, how does this thing make me feel unsafe?
Yeah.
And then therefore, am I doing something because this thing makes me feel unsafe? Mm-hmm. Or not doing this thing makes me feel unsafe? Or not participating in this soiree makes me feel unsafe?
Right. And then, you can decide whether or not you do or don't do whatever it is. Maybe you still do. Maybe you don't. But that doesn't even matter, because at least you're doing it from okay, look, I'm doing this because it makes me feel unsafe if we don't have potatoes in the ground. And you may decide, well, okay, still want to get the potatoes in the ground though. Or you may go, well, you know what? Going out with the people after work, that makes me feel safe because now I think they're going to like me more, or I'll be in line for promotion. But, that eats away at my soul doing that because I hate these people. maybe you won't do that anymore. I don't know. But that doesn't even matter. Honestly, whether or not you do it or don't do it is like secondary to just being aware of what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah. But then, the truth of you comes on.
Right.
And then like reality morphs, right? Going back to that scientist, Russian
It does
scientist.
seem to. In positive or negative ways, depending on what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Yeah, obviously don't do this because you want the reality to morph, but do it because you are willing to see yourself for your truth.
Yeah.
Which is kind of strange, right? Like because this whole thing basically lies in the summary that all of this only happens because we're not willing to see ourselves in our truth.
Right.
So we are hiding ourselves from ourselves. And then hoping in that hiding ourselves from ourselves, others won't see us for this thing that we're hiding. Which like doesn't like, it's like bonkers, but like somehow societally we have accepted that that is a normal way to behave. And I think only now we're, like I guess you and I talk about this all the time, but I think more and more people are talking about the truth behind why we're running or why we're doing or why we're not seeing or why we're chasing. Why is there frustration? Why is there anger? It has nothing to do with anything other than you're running away from yourself. Right. But to take that much outflow and then just turn it all around and go, that's just me not willing to see myself. Wow. That is an eye-opening, defining moment.
Right.
That most people are not willing to accept. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
I think it's good.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.